Welcome, everybody. My name is Sonia Smith, and I am so excited to be part of the Nonprofit CEO Summit with founder Tiffany Bell. I'm thankful for this opportunity to share with you what the Lord has laid on my heart about being a servant leader. Living out servant leadership is the workshop I'll be talking about today. And so I just hope that you will take away some great pointers to help you advance in what it means to be a leader. So again, today we're going to be talking about living out servant leadership. And I know many of you all may think that you got this leadership thing down pat, but I really think that we all are at a place where we can learn a little bit more, we can grow as it relates to leadership. And my background is extensive as it relates to leadership. I'm a mother, I'm a minister, I'm a program director for the Salvation Army Shield of Hope. I'm a motivational speaker, life coach, mentor, international best-selling author of the anthology book Leading with Uncommon Courage, and the CEO and founder of the Sonia D. Smith Enterprises, the Gospel Tea and Beauty from Ashes experience. Now, I know that is a lot that I've shared with you thus far, but I'm gonna tell you, with these 25 years of leadership experience, I've had some highs and I've had some lows. I had some growing pains, and I certainly have had some challenges where I was discouraged and sometimes just wanting to give up. But thanks be to God, in learning and pushing through and realizing that servant leadership is not something that just happens overnight. You kind of grow through it through your experiences. I've become able to teach other people what it means to live out servant leadership. So I have served as a Salvation Army officer. That was one of my titles. Just about a year ago, I served as a full-time minister with the Salvation Army. And there I've learned a lot about just what it means to serve other people, from feeding people to helping them find food and shelter to ministering the gospel of Jesus Christ. I've done work with young people. I've also, I think one of my greatest passions, I believe, is just giving of others more than I've even given of myself a lot of times, so that others can be all that God has called them to be. And I believe that we're called to be vessels to help people grow into their full purpose in which God has given them. And so when we think about leadership, there are two different types of leaderships we'll be talking about today, but with focus on servant leadership. There's that traditional leadership style, and then there's the servant leadership style. And traditional leadership versus servant leadership is this: servant leadership and traditional leadership, they engage different techniques and they present different outcomes. And so when you think about what type of leader you want to be, I want you to kind of focus in on the next definitions as I share with you about what it means to be a traditional leader versus a servant leader. So a traditional leadership is a leader that encourages their people to do their jobs by providing them with guidance, direction, and motivation. But their main emphasis of traditional leader is to improve their organization, position, and their own success. So I'll give you an example. You know, when I was starting out in my leadership capacity, I worked for a for-profit organization. And so there I supervised people in the banking industry. And I felt a lot during that time of leadership that I was more focused on helping the company and the organization gain wealth, as opposed to helping my team grow within their professional experience and personal experience. Now, I'm not necessarily saying there's a lot wrong with helping your company grow, but when you don't focus on your staff, what will happen is they may feel as though the organization's objective is more important than them actually being there as team members. And that can take a toll on your team. That can certainly affect the morale of your team. And if we look at what it means to be a servant leader, servant leadership happens when a leader's main goal and objective is to provide service and support to their people. It becomes about the staff, about the people in which you serve. And the people will get on board when you put them first. A servant leader focuses on the people first, as I stated. In the servant leadership, the leader ensures that the followers are growing in all areas, not just professionally, but knowledgeable and their health and physical well-being. They're making sure that those that follow them are growing in all of those areas. When a leader shifts their focus from the company first to the employees, the leader is more likely to produce skilled, talented, knowledgeable, and motivated employees, which in turn will help to improve the overall business and management of an organization. And let me tell you, that is a win-win situation, not just for your organization, but for your employees as well. People and the staff in which we serve, they bring themselves to work. So everything that they're dealing with at home, from their children to their spouses to their own personal issues, they bring that forth to work. And so you have to keep that in mind when you are developing and serving other people, that they're going to bring themselves to work. So there's some things that you're going to have to come alongside them with and to help them grow in the areas in which you see that they're lacking. And so servant leadership is important when you're dealing with people, when you're in the business of managing people, serving their needs versus just allowing them to just come to work, push paper. It would make a difference. So here you have traditional leaders sees leadership as a rank to obtain. They use power and control to drive performance. They measure success throughout output. They speaks and believes it's about them. That's a traditional leader. But servant leaders sees leaderships as an opportunity to serve others. They share power and control to drive engagement. They measure success through the growth and development. They listen, not just speak, but they also listen to their employees, and they understand it's not about them. As servant leaders, we can't work in silos. You can try to work in a silo, but I'm going to tell you what will happen with that. Your staff, those that follow you, will feel like they are unheard and feel like they're not part of a team. So if you want to build a strong team of servant leaders, you must engage in a way that not only do you speak to them, but you listen to them as well. So we're going to be talking about a couple of points today in this slide. What is servant leadership? What are qualities of a servant leader? What is the role of a servant leader? What is the mindset of a servant leader? What are the key principles of servant leadership? What are the do's and don'ts of a servant leadership? How can you develop your servant leadership skills? Because I know everybody needs to do that. I'm still learning how to develop more of my servant leadership skills. And how can you live out servant leadership? Some of the key takeaways that I hope that you take away as I go throughout the slide today is that we all lead and follow. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. We are all leading and following someone. Even though I'm a servant leader, there are other people that are influencing me in my career path, in my personal path. There are other people that I follow, that I look up to, that are leading by example and teaching me even more what it means to be a servant leader. We also will take away today to build a healthy community. You are only strong as your team. Again, working in a silo is not going to be helpful for you to build a strong team. So you got to think in mind, I'm building a community of people, a community of servant leaders that's going to go out in this world and be the change that they want to see. And then nurturing an environment is a healthy environment. Who wants to come to work where every single day they feel weighted down? The energy, the atmosphere is negative. I know that I've worked in corporations where I just didn't feel like getting up and go to work, but I knew that I had to go to work in order to get a paycheck. But if I wasn't going to work to get a paycheck, I didn't want to be there, but I knew that I had to pay my bills. So what I'm saying to you, make the environment nurturing so that your staff feels not that they're coming to work to get a paycheck, but they want to be there. They desire to be there because the environment is healthy. And when you have a healthy environment, it's a nurturing environment. Then empower others and the stewardship and steward relationships. So I hope that you understand that not only that you will be empowering others, but you will be stewarding a relationship between yourself and the employees and between the employees and them, one another. And so I love this quote by Gandhi. He says, find yourself in the service of others. I just truly believe my life, passion, and purpose is to empower and to inspire others to serve without any other objective, but to serve others so that they can become servants. And so what it means to be a servant leader: guiding, supporting, influencing, developing, speaking into a team member's situation professionally or personally with patience and compassion. That's what it means to be a servant leader. It's also meeting a staff member where they are in weaknesses and strengths. It's more important than being a manager or trying to control the environment. It's more than just being a boss or misusing your authority because we are trying to climb the corporate ladder. You know, when you work as a team and you come alongside them, you're not thinking about getting to the corporate ladder. You're thinking about everybody growing together as a body, a community. And as a servant leader, we have a responsibility. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stop right there. We have a responsibility to develop the people that the Lord has placed in our life, even if they're not good employees. I've had several employees throughout my career where sometimes they wasn't great employees. So I took those opportunities where I saw weaknesses in them to develop them, as opposed to, let's say, I'm just going to fire them, write them up, get rid of them. I look for ways to help them grow, that say they can be better. Because what would happen if I just fired them? They would just go on to the next organization and continue to do the same thing. But no, when you come alongside them, you help them grow and develop to be better at their job, better at their in their personal life, better people. And that's what we want to do as servant leaders. You know, servant leadership is about knowing what to do at the right time and moving the staff member or team forward. Again, as I said in my earlier slide, people bring themselves to work. And in the state of the world that we're in today with the pandemic, and we got so many things that are happening in the lives of the people that we serve, we need to have an understanding that people are going to bring themselves to work. And sometimes they're not going to bring the best foot forward. And so by supporting them and guiding them and develop them, they would understand and they would know that somebody cares about them. So some of the characteristics of a servant leader: they're a servant, they're passionate, they're joyful, they're kind, they're honest, they're trustworthy, they have integrity and credibility, and they're empathetic. You know, servant leaders possess these characteristics, maybe not right away, but along their journey, they begin to possess these different characteristics. What is the role of a servant leadership? And I love this quote by Ken Blanchard. He said, leadership is not something you do to people, it's something you do with people. You know, currently where I serve as the director for the Shield of Hope, I love the opportunity that I get to serve alongside my incredible staff and help those that are seeking refuge from homelessness. Now, is this a job that, you know, is easy to do? No, it is not, because it tugs on your heart, and the ability that you and some of the strengths that you need to have to come alongside your staff to help empower them to serve other people is something that would help them, because you see them, they see you in the trenches with them. And so you can see the top where you see the boss is just pushing people like this, saying, you do this, you go and you do this. And then the leader is in the front pulling the wagon and say, we got this. We're going to do this together. You're not going to be out there on your own. I'm going to pull with you, and I'm going to be the leader of the pulling. And so the role of a servant leader is to serve. You are to serve your staff. Anything that they're in need of, you are to be there to serve them, to lead them, to empower them, to encourage them, to develop, guide, and inspire others to be all that God has called them to be. So we are moving the mission forward. So what is the mindset of a servant leader? You know, the mindset of a servant leader truly is to nurture one another and give people opportunities of influence. You have to know that as a servant leader, it is not about you. It is about other people. You are the last person, I would say, that would be in the forefront of this whole big mission of serving other people. It is about other people. It's about serving others, making them better, meeting them where they are, loving them. Sometimes the unlovable employee that comes to work and all they do is murmur and complain. You have to have your mindset to think like it's not about me, but it's about looking for ways to nurture, looking for ways to influence other people to be better. And some of the key principles of a servant leader is listening and empathy and healing and awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to growth of the people and building community. And I love here in this slide where you can definitely see, you know, all of the key principles when you think about what a servant leader is. I just feel like in the world today, we're just lacking so many servant leaders because everybody, you see many times, even if you look on social media, Facebook especially, everybody's in the, you know, give me, it's all about me. What can I get out of this? I'm gonna serve you if you can, if I get something out of it. But again, a servant leader doesn't look to advance themselves, but they look to advance other people, to help people be better. You know, true leaders must be for the benefit of other people, of their followers, and not to enrich the leader. That's from John C. Maxwell. I love this next slide and how we can see here the two different types of conversation from the employee to the employer. The team, she asked the question, the employer asked the question. The team hopes you to choose to display more traits of a good servant leader. And he says, what do you mean? I'm a great servant leader. Matter of fact, I am more than just a servant leader. I am a self-servant leader. I should have seen that coming. So there's some do's and don'ts definitely of being a servant leader. You cannot be a self-servant leader. You have to serve others, shut down diverse opinions, cultivate people, and forget about it being about you, but it's about leading other people. Raise hope for a better future, a better community, and the organization in which you serve, and forego your empathy. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams says that. That, I'm telling you, this quote is something that I live by. That my actions every day that I wake up, I think about ways that I'm going to inspire people. Sometimes by words, sometimes by my actions, but everything I do and think about every day and pray about is how am I going to inspire a stranger down the street or a staff member that I've encountered that has some struggles in their personal life or professional life. How am I going to inspire them to dream more about their future and where they're potentially going as opposed to what's happening in their life right now? A true leader does that. So how to develop your servant leadership skills. And now we're getting down to the nook and cranny of this workshop. Everybody, I believe, has the potential of being a servant leader because God created us to be servant leaders, for one. But it truly starts with you taking a look in the mirror. You understand where your shortcomings are and where your strengths are and build from there. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that can help you build and your servant leadership skills, develop your servant leadership skill. Build strong communication skills. It is so important that you communicate well with your staff, to those that you report to as well. It is so important that you build a strong communication skills. Improve your listening skills. I tell people all the time, sometimes less is more. If you're doing all the talking in a staff meeting and you're not listening to your staff, you're not allowing them to share what's on their heart, their frustrations, their highs and their lows in their workspace, then guess what? You're not being a good listener. You're not being a good servant leader. You have to improve your servant leadership skills by improving your listening skills. You don't know what you don't know. I love that quote. You don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes when we talk a lot, we miss out on the very important things that our staff may be telling us about the work environment, that can, and share some suggestions that would be able to help the work environment be better. Grow your persuasive skills. People tell me oftentimes, and I laugh about this, that I can sell apple skins to anybody. I don't know about that, but I just have the ability, and this is only by God's gifting, to really speak into someone's life and believe that they can do anything that they set their mind out on doing. You have to have the ability to persuade others to see far past where they are. And when you grow those persuasive skills, other people will see you and they'll be like a magnet. They would want to be around you because they would feel inspired and encouraged to get out and do something better. Work on self-awareness. This is a huge thing that I do every day. I think all throughout my day, I'm very intentional about myself, like what's going on with me, what's going on even around me. My self-awareness is important because people oftentimes are going through something. And if you're not, one, aware, again, about your own personal things that's going within yourself, you may be triggered to respond to whatever they're going through in a negative way. And so you definitely have to be self-aware about how you're feeling as a servant leader as it relates to serving them. And I'll give you an example. Biases, we all have them. We all have these unconscious biases that we just kind of bring to work. And a lot of times our biases can offend people just because one person may not agree with what you agree with. It may cause conflict in the workplace. And so you have to be very self-aware about the biases that we create and that we have just because of culture, just because of how we grew up in life. And there's nothing wrong. There's not a bad or good to it, but it can become discriminatory. It can become offensive if you're not aware of the biases that you have. And so self-awareness is very important as it relates to servant leadership. Develop empathy. I cannot express this any more than just making sure that you're empathetic to the needs of those that you serve alongside and that you serve. Because again, a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and you don't want anyone that works with you or works alongside you or work with you to feel that you don't value them, that you don't appreciate them, that all you care about is them pushing paper or productivity. It has to be about the people first. Learn how to develop others holistically. It's going to take a lot out of you to help people develop holistically, because we live in a broken world and we're dealing with people every single day. And so you've got to hone into what's going on with them spiritually in their personal lives and their professional lives, and learn how to develop them. You know, look at their weaknesses as an opportunity to strengthen them and help them grow. Help them get to their own aha moment. You know, you don't want to tell them how to do it, but you want to help them get to a place where they can see, you know, the areas in their lives in which they need to change and work on to be better. Keep organizational goals in mind. Yeah, the full objective. You're a nonprofit, whatever your goal, whatever your objective, whatever your vision is for your organization, you must keep that in line and align it with your servant leadership skills so that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the organization, it's moving forward, it's becoming productive, it's building this great community of employees that like they don't want to work anywhere else but for you, because not only are you keeping them in mind, but you're also keeping your organization in mind as well. I love the four ingredient agreements. It's something that I saw this quote, and I believe that it's very important as a servant leader. You know, you got to be impeccable with your words, speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself and gossip about people. Use the power of your words in the direction of truth and love. I'm going to tell you, as a servant leader, you are so mindful of the things that you say. You want to uplift people instead of tearing people down. You want to edify the body instead of destroying the body. And so your staff members need to know that they can trust you. You are a very trustworthy person. And that when you speak to them, you're going to speak to them in a way that it adds value to their life, not subtract value from their lives. Don't take anything personal as a servant leader. Again, it's not about you. It's about other people. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality and their dream. And when you're immune to the options and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Okay? As a servant leader, we need to understand that taking things personal in your organization, there's no room for that, because you're going to be offended so much that, you know, you're not going to be able to focus on your task and your role as serving other people, because every time a fiery dart comes your way, you're going to want to respond in a negative way. And we're called to serve. And so there's no room for, you know, negativity as a servant leader. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. So if you really want your staff to do something and they seem to can't get it, they seem to keep doing their own thing, you have to find the courage to express that to them in a way that is honoring them, in a way that values them, in a way mostly that motivates them to want to do better. You want to be like the captain of a football team, right? Cheering them on, like, listen, if we do this, you know, we're going to win this, and, you know, and maybe offer incentives as well. You know, communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding and sadness and drama. And with just this one argument, you can completely transform your life and your role as a servant leader. And then always do your best. Sometimes you may not get it right as a servant leader. Sometimes there's going to be times, you know, you're just going to mess up and you're going to blow up in at your employees. But, you know, be bold enough, be humble enough to apologize. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. And under any circumstances, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. I tell you, when you look at these four agreements, you really think about how it can change the trajectory with where you are as a servant leader. I know it has done that for me. I love this quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the greatest servant leaders that has ever served. He says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So I want to just stop there for a moment and just ask you the question. When you look at your nonprofit, you look at your employees, what are you really doing for them? What are they taking away from serving at your organization? That's truly the question. If it's not empowering them, if it's not helping them grow and to be better, maybe you need to rethink some of your strategy in your organization. So how to live out in servant leadership: serve and encourage others, show kindness, be respectful to privacy, and be an advocate for your people. You know, again, in my 25 plus years of leadership, I would say some of those years I just kind of got it wrong, because I was serving out of a place of, you know, trying to climb the corporate ladder. I wanted to gain as much money and accolades as I could, and I really didn't think about it was about the people. And it was only until I had gone through some terrible things in my life that the Lord kind of had to remind me that if I want to grow in any area of my life, then I must submit to serving other people. It's so rewarding. It's so, at the end of the day, it's so fruitful and beneficial to you if you look at your life and your role as a servant, as opposed to getting all that you can get. Because you can gain all of these riches, again, in this world and your nonprofit and all these things, but if you're not helping other people, what are you gaining from that? You also have to see the potential in every staff member, regardless of where they are in life, and love them for who they are and not for what you want them to be. We all want our staff members to be great people, but they have to see that for themselves. They have to want that for themselves. And so by coming alongside them, seeing their potential, developing them, guiding them, and encouraging them, and leading by example, most of all, I'm telling you, it will change the trajectory of your nonprofit organization, because your staff will begin to see, man, my manager, my supervisor really, really cares about me. And not only do I want to help them grow, I also want to grow too while I'm here. And a couple of more slides, and then we'll close this workshop, Living Out Servant Leadership. It all really starts with a biblical principle, in which it is. You know, the Bible says that in Mark 10:45, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. That is such a true statement, that God himself didn't think about coming to this world and to be served. He just wanted to serve other people. And that is a great example of what it looks like to be a servant leader, to serve out of a place where you're not looking for anything in return. And then Mark 20:26 says, well, whoever desires to become a great among you, let him be your servant. So lastly, as we close out our time together in this workshop, just wave. The Lord gave me this acronym, WAVE. Be willing, be available, be vulnerable to empower others to be servant leaders. It's going to take a lot out of you, but I promise you, as you pour into others, you will be poured back into, because you will see lives change. You'll see your organization produce more out of the people that you serve. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation for everyone. Thank you again for this time that we have to come together and to share with you what the Lord has laid on my heart in regards to servant leadership. I am Sonia, and this has been a great opportunity. I pray that you would take some of these tools, and again, as I share some of the takeaways at the very beginning, and I'll close with them. We all lead and follow. We all lead and follow. Build a healthy community. A nurturing environment is a healthy environment. And lastly, empower others and steward relationships. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in.